We're actually live on mine at least. So I'll read
Okay, I
muna
think
some of
we're
the
live na,
comments while you're
bro.
set. Huh?
We're live na.
We are. Oh, we're live on yours as well. Good.
This is recording na, brother.
All right.
Wala nang bawian yan, ha? Parang si Digong, yung mga sinabi niya, hindi niya mabawi. Okay, bro, okay, you're gonna carry the water today a bit more than me. For many reasons, because you're the Mr. Hearing expert. No. But let me first start to buhat a little bit my own water plus bangko.
Yes,
Remember,
please.
remember, nung nag-studio tayo the other week, sabi ko, I rather have him have his alalais do the hearing because, and then if you have the Lima and Risa especially there, he's gonna get so hubristic and triggered. He's gonna self-incriminate. But remember, I said, yung nangyari kay Jonathan
Yep.
Morales. I said, that's actually encouraging. And I don't know, my sense is, for all of the kapalpakan ng nangyari ng mga ibang senadors, which I think is quite revealing, and I'm always good with revelations in that sense, I think there was enough material out there. I think there's a lot of material out there. What do you think, bro?
My God, alam mo, from the start pa lang nakikita mo nga how Duterte started eh. Yung una, ayaw, hindi pa siya nagmumura. Iniiwasan niyang sabihin yung word na patayan, pumatay, mga ganun. At the start, di ba napansin mo yun? And then, nung naging komportable siya, like you said, doon mo na nakita, biglang nag-uumpisa na with medyo the insinuations of killing. And then, all out, biglang parang verbal diarrhea. Naglabasan na lahat. And I think we all expected this. Di ba when we were talking about it, I actually made that video talking about it nga na it is exactly like the movie nga, A Few Good Men. And that's exactly what he did. The only difference was, I don't know if the DOJ, the Senate, has the balls to be able to say what they need to say na, uy, kasuhan na nyo to. He's asking for it. Siya na nga nagsasabi, bakit di pa ako kinakasuhan hanggang ngayon eh. I think nahihirapan din siya with the fact na hindi pa siya kinakasuhan kasi it's like a monkey on his back. It's almost like he wants to get it over with. If you're gonna charge me, charge me. If you're not, you're not. I'd rather tapusin natin to either way kaysa this thing looming over me. Like, mas nakakatakot yun, mahirap yun eh. I think that's really stressful eh. What do you think about it?
Ako, last night I was listening to this fantastic analysis of what a second Donald Trump presidency could look like, no? Because let's be honest, I think it's more likely than ever that Trump will be the next US president again as things stand, because Kamala has the worst number in 20 years for any Democratic candidate. At this point, Hillary Clinton was 6 points ahead. Biden was almost double digit ahead. She's tied essentially with Trump. So I think we have to realistically look at the prospect. So having said that, so in-analyze nila how could the second Trump administration look like. And the New York Times chief correspondent at the White House during the Trump 1.0 administration, her analysis was, the thing with Trump is he also likes to test the waters, push the envelope, and see how far he can get away with things. So I think that has been really Duterte's algorithm, just like any other demagogue. You keep on pushing the envelope. I mean, sexual predators are the same. Wala akong sinasabi,
Yep.
but let's be honest, that's how sexual predators also operate, right? You keep on pushing the buttons, you make inappropriate jokes, next thing you're making inappropriate moves. You
Yep.
see how far you can go. I mean, that's essentially how these people operate, right? I'm not saying they're sexual predators, but I'm saying there is some predatory dimension to demagogues. So feeling like part of it is also Duterte thinking, how far can I go get away with it? Because January of this year, he went out and said, bangag si BBM. He went out and said, Mindanao should separate. He went out, and yet, patapos ng taon, he's still there. He's still being,
Mm.
reverentially dealt with by senators. So sobrang yabang pa niya, no, don't treat me like an ex-president. We're just here. And then the next thing you know, do not question my policies. Like, wow. I don't know, man. What is your take?
Alam mo, for me, what the hard part about listening to that Senate hearing was number one, it's very difficult talaga that the conflict of interest, it was so obvious. Na Bato de la Rosa, Bongo, Robin Padilla, I mean, all the characters na ma-imagine mo are all there to support and defend Duterte. And even Jinggoy Estrada, who was trying to sound like he was impartial, did not come across impartial at all. So
But
that's
how
why
could he
Duterte.
be impartial, bro? He was the one it was during Duterte that he got back into fold, right? So may utang na loob siya.
Yes, I agree. And not only that, he has an axe to grind with the Lima because of the Lima. That's why he went to jail, di ba? So, yung makita mo yung yung setup na ganun, it was a little bit embarrassing because you saw how non-impartial yung ating Senate. And honestly, it was disappointing that a lot of other senators did not attend for whatever reason. And I admire Risa Hontiveros for really stepping up to the plate. And, here's the thing about that whole Senate hearing. Isa lang yung dumating doon na may bayag, si Risa Hontiveros. I don't see any other men there in that room except for Risa Hontiveros. And I'm
The
not
only man
trying.
standing is a woman.
Exactly. And she's the only one who stood up to him. And he caved. What do you think? Do you think he caved? I think bumigay siya. Natameme siya talaga kay Riza Hontiveros at hindi
Ako,
na siya makapalag
ako
na
mas, yeah. I was
nag-reverse siya
not
eh.
only looking at Risa, I was also looking at Ma'am Dalim. You could see na she would raise her eyebrows and go eye
Yeah.
roll essentially whenever Duterte would do something crazy. No, including boasting about essentially something close to extrajudicial killings, right? Like essentially encourage the criminals to set up themselves for EJK. Essentially, that was what Duterte was saying, diba? Bro, what I
Yeah.
want to do here is I think we did a good overall picture analysis. We can
Okay.
get back to it later on, and I think we can look at what's the next step forward with
Right.
Quadcom, DOJ, ICC. But
Okay.
this is where I'm gonna really. That's why I reached out to you because you're the man, and I think you have paid more attention to the nitty-gritties of the hearings. Not only this hearing, starting with the whopping go. If you were to analyze the hearing over the hours, are you gonna like say let's 2-3 parts? I mean, how do you see the arc of the hearing? Let's break it down in detail. Would
Okay.
you say,
So
yeah.
the first part of the hearing was yun na nga testing the waters. Unang-una eh. And Duterte was smart to actually bring in mga supporters in the gallery. That was actually a very smart move, and having Panelo go in there at the start. And this is where it was interesting. If you heard Panelo's opening statement, he made sure he had an opening statement. It was for him to ensure that he did not incriminate himself and to distance himself from any of Duterte's possible crimes, because I think Panelo knew that Duterte will incriminate himself. Duterte cannot help it. It's just in his nature to admit that he did something like this. So Panelo said it in his opening statement. I am not aware of any reward payments. I am not aware of any killings. I am not aware of any of what Duterte did as president. All I did was become his spokesperson and defend him on his behalf based on what he told me. True or not, I don't know. So I have no personal knowledge of it. That was very smart for Panelo to do. And if you watch Panelo's face, it was very interesting how you would see him cringing at times, of course, trying to be behaved and not saying anything. That's how it started. And Coco Pimentel, as a chair, is a weak chair who did not know how to be able to, parang demand order, proper order and decorum by the resource
Well,
people,
isa pang
including
may utang
Duterte.
na loob yan eh. Ito naman
Uh,
naging Senate President because of Digong, not to mention his dad's party was essentially hijacked by Duterte and all of that.
Pero
Mm.
wouldn't that make it more adversarial for him with the fact that his dad and him, the PDP laban was broken apart because of Duterte.
Yeah,
He's on the other faction.
yeah, but this is where you can see how cynical it is, diba?
Yeah.
Ako, I want to rewind a little bit to Panelo before going to Coco Pimentel because Panelo is quite a character. To be
Mm.
honest, my reading of Panelo's intervention and posturing was this was his way of saying, I'm the spokes, not Harry Roque, not man hunted. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to understand from Panelo's point of view, he's there to say, I am the spokesman. Because the one that really, parang nakakaren sila ni Harry Roque all those years eh. Sobrang hate niya si. So remember, Harry Roque is always the one positioning himself as the ultimate shield to the sword of
Right.
Tatay. I am the ultimate lawyer for him. I'm ultimate. So I think that was his time to shine and say, excuse me, not true, not true, fake news, fake news. I'm the real one, wonderful people. So I think that's what was going. That was his time to shine because I think natabunan siya ni Harry Roque. It's hard to shine when Harry Roque is in the room. I mean, That's coming from me, man. I was like, even I, like, ano naman si Karen, the most Karen ex-human rights lawyer. So, yun lang, bro. Now, let's go to Coco Pimentel. Sige. So your argument is because
My,
of
my argument,
yung
yeah, with
hidwaan
Coco,
nila. Oo.
alam mo sa akin, ano, with Coco Pimentel kasi, ano, it was very, it was very frustrating watching him allow the resource people to dictate the terms, to dictate the where the conversation was going, to basically dictate the entire agenda. How many times have you seen you never see this in any kind of hearing, whether it's Senate or Congress, where the resource person will say, I have a question. I have a question to this resource person, to that resource person, and I want to make a manifestation. You're not allowed to, you're not supposed to. And when he didn't answer questions, there was no pushback. So yon. And later we're gonna talk more about it. Pero what I did notice about Coco Pimentel and all the other senators, when Duterte was already incriminating himself, they would still parang, I don't know, did they not hear what he said, or are they numb to it? In any other situation, I bet you if this was the Quadcom, you probably would have heard one of the congressmen said, I think we have to move to allow the DOJ to now open this for investigation because our resource person has actually incriminated himself to be the mastermind of all of this. Yung ganon.
Oh, may
Walang
executive call,
ganon.
no? No? Yeah. Can I go back to Coco Pimentel in this sense, no? Um, Obviously, one way of looking at it is, let's just call it the Zubiri dilemma, right? Yung mga tipong, because you want to you want to look neutral, you overcompensate. So
Mm.
precisely because nagkaroon ng hidwaan sa PDP laban at medyo bitter yung nagwatak-watak yung PDP laban ng 2021, 2022, siguro a part of him saying, no, I have to make sure na hindi ako mukhang bitter ally ni Duterte
Mm.
dahil sa nangyari. But I think that's really not the primary reason. I think the second reason, and this is where I think it's even more worrying, is he was the Senate president when all of those crazy things were happening. Not only the EJ case, not only war on
Oh,
drugs, but more importantly, Duterte deciding to withdraw from the ICC unilaterally without the concurrence of the Senate. That was a very controversial move. And he, as a Senate president, should have held the line. And yet he
yeah.
didn't. So in a way, the more he exposes yung mga kababalagan ni Duterte, he exposes himself. So this was also about saving his own skin. But at the third level, I think probably it's even more worrying than that. Maybe he is fundamentally sympathetic to the Duterte way of doing things. And if you look at it, the time that he was assertive during the hearing was against Risa, right?
Oh,
He suddenly was
yes.
assertive when it came to Risa. So I'm not sure he was a wimp overall, as some people say. Actually, I think he was sympathetic to Duterte, not to mention saving his own skin.
Yeah. You know what? I just realized you're right there because there were so many times that Risa Hontiveros actually wanted to manifest something and she was not allowed to. There were so many times that she had questions, she was not allowed to. And when it was time for Bato to speak, wow, uninterrupted completely. And Duterte was able to speak more than Risa was even able to stop him from speaking.
100%.
And even when he would go astray in terms of answers na hindi na nga nagme-make sense yung mga sagot niya, there were so many times that Duterte did not answer the question. Coco Pimentel did not do his job. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, when I found out that Pimentel was going to be chairing this hearing, I already had a lot of doubts. I was surprised Cheese Escudero did not share this. I don't know why he didn't. He should have. Maybe he was trying to be impartial because he is close to the Marcoses, as he said, he's closer to them than the Dutertes. I don't know what his reason is, but this is I'm there's so much politicking happening in Senate, and there are so many people who don't want to take a stand against the former president. And that's the bottom line here. Nobody wants to take the stand. Everyone wants to be kind of like sitting on the fence or at least be more sympathetic, using your words, to the president. And you saw that during the entire interpolation from if we're going to talk about Bato de la Rosa, for example, saying, oh, maybe the president, former president, can be allowed to be the one to speak first so he can leave earlier, all of that. Ang dami. Ang dami talagang ang daming mga problematic talaga do sa mga nabanggit ni Duterte at sa pag-chair ni Coco Pimentel.
So ito yung first part, no? Pwede natin balikan ito siguro in the future. Wag natin ubusin yung content. No, I'm just kidding. Hindi, I mean, para sa akin, okay lang talaga nagkakaalaman na kung sino talagang totoong independent. At in this case, to be honest, medyo embarrassing because, di ba, supposedly minority si Coco Pimentel, supposedly fiscalizer siya, supposedly siya yung, di ba, tumatayo bilang konsyensya ng minority, etc.
Ah,
Inako pa niya yung pwesto ni Risa. It should have been Risa who's the real,
yeah.
genuine single opposition there. But for me, it only highlights the fact that yung mga kakampings dyan, yung mga sobrang mobilized ngayon sa Naga for Lenny, dami nagtatag sa akin. Natutuwa po ako sa inyong volunteerism and all. Sana ma-translate nyo rin yan sa Senate race. Kitang-kita po
Yeah.
natin na nag-iisa talaga si Risa. Kawawa si Risa. You know, she's heroic. You can say she's the only one with the, uh, and cojones.
Balls.
But she shouldn't be alone. Bakit mag-isa
Yeah.
lang dapat? Dapat mas marami sila eh. Siya yung nagsasalita para sa kababaihan. Siya yung nagsasalita para sa demokrasya. Siya yung nagsasalita para sa opposition. I mean, one person just can do so much. At
Yeah.
nakita natin na sapawan siya ng mga iba, including etong questionable na nag-oversee nito. So please support yung mga candidates na maging independent. Yung mga candidates na maging totoong senador. Hindi yung mga alalay or factotum. Speaking of alalay and factotum, wala akong sinasabi Kamusta si Bato? Completely unrelated Wala akong sinasabi. How was Bato? How was how
Well,
reliable? Because Duterte threw him under the bus.
Well,
Like,
yeah, that's why Bato kept saying after Duterte threw him under the bus, he would go back and say, but you know how the president always makes jokes, it's rhetorical, it's
symbolism.
symbolism daw yan, and it's not meant to be taken seriously. Pero but whenever Risa would ask Duterte, she would be like, yeah, I agree, I said that. Put me to court. Go do it. Tapos, di ba? And then he goes, Bato knows this. And then Bato would be like, well, we know how president jokes. Ganun. What was frustrating to watch is how, yun na nga, ginawang kalokohan itong Senate hearing because Bato de la Rosa obviously is a very integral part of this entire EJK and this war on drugs. And yet, he's the one interpolating. He should have really inhibited himself. But again, then again, ito na nga eh. They really wanted to do this because they knew that in the Senate, marami silang kakampi doon to be able to protect them and to be able to counter what the Quadcom is saying. Now, for me, here's the thing about it. As much as I am frustrated watching the whole Senate hearing, I will give the credit where credit is due that in terms of political maneuvers, magaling yung move na ginawa nito ni Bato de la Rosa making this happen because now they're able to put out the police officer that was the Mandaluyong chief of police nung time na pinatay si Barayuga. What's his name again? Basta they were able to put all these police officers to be able to speak and tell their story na apparently was being covered up in the Quadcom. Pero even if you hear that side of the story, it doesn't hold water. That's the thing. It doesn't hold water. And for me, again, Bato de la Rosa putting Duterte there and Duterte being there, even with all the cohorts and even with the gallery of Duterte supporters clapping when Duterte says he's gonna kill again. Man, you know what? You're digging your own grave. It's so obvious he's digging his own grave and he's gonna take everyone down with him.
Now let's move to the meat of the discussion. Duterte himself, the man of the hour or hours for that matter. Can you analyze yung arc ng reaction and evolution niya? First he started on a very somber note, medyo statesman-like, medyo pa-humble. Yep. And then medyo ingat ng konti sa una. I won't say demure and mindful, but a little bit more mindful than demure, I would say. And then suddenly you will see him medyo becoming the digong, speaking with this dictatorial sense of authority as if he's still the president. Can we analyze that, bro?
Yeah. So one thing that Digong does really well, is the double speak. He will admit something, and then in the very next sentence, he will deny the exact same thing that he just admitted. And he does that several times in the entire hearing to confuse the people on what he really means. And then you're the one who should parang it's going to be up to you to interpret what I mean. I said I killed people, and in the very next sentence he'll say, yeah, I never ordered anyone being killed. I told them to arrest them. And then he'll say, pero pag manlaban sila, patayin dapat sila. Pero sasabihin naman niya, but I never told them officially. Here was the interesting thing. He's very cognizant of the fact of what he's saying, where when he said, I never officially ordered the killings Of course, he never officially ordered it because you cannot, as president, make that kind of an official order. You can't make an executive order. That's illegal. That's against the Constitution and against human rights. That's why he had to do it underground. Yun eh. So when he says I never made an official order na patayin ang mga all the drug addicts or whatever, but again, it's not about what is your official order. What is the actual order that went into the war? And that's where he admitted with the death squad, and then biglang yun na nga, yung pagkasabi, then babawiin na naman niya, paikot-ikot. And he was so good at manipulating the narrative or the story during the entire hearing. Now, if you're not careful, you will fall into his manipulative tactics. You will
Can
fall
you
into
expound on that? So
that's
let's give examples na paano siya I won't even say double speak, parang triple speak, quadruple speak. He's speaking from 10 sides of his mouth, di ba? And it creates
Yep.
this fog of confusion, di ba? A rhetorical strategy na yan. Can you give some examples, yung mga highlights, bro?
Okay, so one of the things he said was when he said, papatayin ko talaga lahat ng mga, pag may drug addict, papatayin ko talaga sila. And he said that. After he said that, then he will say, then when he was pressed to ask, what do you mean? Did you say papatayin mo? He goes, hindi, ang sinasabi ko lang, pag ginawa nila yan, yayariin ko sila. What do you mean by yayariin? Of course, papahuli ko sa police. And then that's when he pulls back a bit. When he was pressed to, can you confirm that you said papatayin mo sila? Then he'll pull back and then say, ang sabi ko is gawin ang kailangan gawin para pahinto sila. Bam, pull back. So whenever they ask for confirmation, he pulls back. So that's one thing he does very well. The next thing he does very well is this. When he's pressed to confirm, instead of confirming by saying, yes, pumapatay ako, where he would admit, by the way, when Risa was asking, he would admit because he was so frustrated. Then he would go to the defense mode of, yes, pinatay ko yung mga masasamang tao because they're rapists, because gigil ako sa mga tao, mga kriminal, dahil pinatay nila, ni-rape nila yung isang bata na 3-year-old. Remember, he was being accused of perpetrating the war on drugs that had a lot of innocent lives as
150
casualties.
plus children were killed. Just,
Killed 3-year-old children. Then he reverses that narrative of the 3-year-old children, and then he comes up with his own narrative of, kasi nakita ko itong mga drug addict na to, ni-rape pang isang 3-year-old na bata. Tapos pinatay ang pamilya. Kaya yan ang gusto kong mga patayin. Boom! And then he incites this emotion in you, to the rage in the people. This was the same rage that got him elected. This is the same rage he's trying to elicit, to remind people that I am just killing the bad people. That's it. Listen, I'm gonna say this, and I hope the people watching understand this. None of us want drugs. None of us want drugs. All of us are against drugs, the drug pushers, the drug lords. That's not the issue. The issue
yan
is the
totoo.
abuse of power.
Sabi nila, bangag daw yung iba.
Oh, well. Yeah, pero Richard, think about it. Ikaw, what do you think about this? I mean, they use that narrative to be able to play upon the people's anger, and the people who support Duterte say, masaya ang buhay ngayon, tahimik ang buhay ngayon dahil kay Duterte. How do you dispute that?
Ako unang-una, bro, ang basa ko sa ginagawa niya is ang tawag ko dyan, octopus strategy. But it's not the pusit of, it's more offensive kind of pusit rather than defensive pusit. Offensive pusit in sense that he's talking to different audiences simultaneously. So, kasama dyan yung kanyang base, yung base niya. Because I think he's using this as a national platform to exercise leadership and to say na buhay pa rin ang Dutertismo. Malakas pa rin ang Duterte dynasty. Malapit ng election. So I think this was an exercise of political influence and power by him, or at least that's what he was trying to do by going back to these talking points. Kasi bro, marami tayong kilala ng mga tao na medyo nag-get sila na mali yung boto nila noong 2016, right? Let's be honest. Or 2019 even, if not 2022. Yung 2022 medyo complicated yan kasi nagwatak yung unity, but ibang usapan na yan. No, so I think Duterte wants to make it easier for these people not to confront their own conscience and all. Because it's very difficult to admit that you supported essentially what some would say a mass murderer, if not the worst president ever, right? And by going back to those talking points, na yeah, may mga nangyaring masama pero collateral damage lang yan, pero at least I did something about it. So it goes back to that proto-fascist, to be honest. Kasi ang argument ni Umberto Eco, this Italian thinker, was hindi lahat ng fascist ay Hitler, Mussolini, ganon. May mga proto-fascist, yung mga fascism light, if I can use it. I bet that sounds oxymoronic. Na
Okay.
hindi sila all the way fascist na invading other countries and all. But what they share in common is wala silang respeto sa facts, wala silang respeto sa logical argumentation, but most importantly, what they believe in is cult of action. At least may ginawa ako. So for whatever you tell against me, siguro may namatay, sorry na lang, ganyan. Pero at least ako may ginawa ako. So yung argument mo, Chris, na hindi naman tayo against war on drugs, sabi na, yeah, pero wala naman kayong ginawa. Hindi ko sinasabi na drug addict kayo, pero wala kayong ginawa. At least ako may ginawa ko, or at least hindi ko may ginawa. That's quite a strong argument, unfortunately, among
Sure.
yung right-wing populist sections of the society. Kasi Duterte is a social phenomenon eh. Hindi lang siya naging...
Yeah.
There's really a receptiveness to that cult of action, the idea that at least may ginawa, analysis, paralysis. So I think this is where the magic, the Duterte magic, dark magic, whatever you want to call it, lies. But how do you argue against that? Well, first of all, you go
Well,
to the facts of the case. Totoong drug war ba yan? Or baka nag-reconsolidate lang, nag-merger lang siya, di ba? So you question the very premise. But this is not even a
well,
drug war to begin with, mga ganun. So that's one way of going back against it. And then you can talk about, ang daling magsabi ng collateral damage. Paano kung collateral damage yung kapatid mo, yung anak mo? Ngayon, hindi na siya collateral damage. Ngayon, kababalagan na, trahedya na. So it's so easy for you to say collateral damage kung ibang batang namatay, pero what if that's your kid?
right.
Because remember, if your entire argument is you need war on drugs to save the children, and the next thing you know, children are dying, medyo isi-shame mo yung tao. That's what I did during those times. I had friends who voted for Digong and were trying to justify his thing. I said, yeah, madali sabihin yan kasi hindi naman ikaw apektado, middle class ka, hindi ka naman nakatira sa squatter eh. Let's be
Oh
honest,
yeah.
9% ng namatay sa EJ case ay poorest of poor Filipinos who don't have platforms, who don't, yung asawa nila hindi nakakapag-Ingles to be interviewed by BBC, CNN, wala silang abogado, wala silang essentially agency, discursive, communicative action or power in that matter. So, you push back. Pero ako, I immediately go for the premise. Budol yun eh. The whole thing is budol. Utoto naman kayo. Wag lang, So that's my style. Because I don't want to even dignify the argument. It's so ridiculous. It's so
Yeah.
proto-fascist. It's so beyond my moral horizons that hindi ko na it's like, you don't debate rape. Rape is wrong, period.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
You don't debate if mass murder is okay or not. It's wrong, period. Not
Yeah.
only as a matter of law, but as a matter of morality. So what I'm gonna question is, okay ka lang ba pare? Okay ka lang ba? Kailangan baka gusto mo magpa-therapy, di ba? So, but I always also leave a kind of a breach there. I'm sasabihin ko, okay lang pare, alam ko medyo desperate for change tayo in 2016, ganun. I'm not gonna cancel you as a person or a friend just because, but aminin mo naman at least sa sarili mo na nakamali ka ng 2016, ganon. So, it has to be a combination of compassion but also firm pushback and then demolishing the premise. That's my way
Yeah.
of dealing with people who voted for Duterte.
Well, I think a lot of people right now kasi that the ones that still are with Duterte now are admitting that he does kill. Yun na yun eh. Ngayon ina-admit na, the funny part was at the start they were saying, hindi si Duterte yung pumapatay, yung mga drug dealer naglalabanan yan eh, mga drug lords naglalabanan, sila yung nagpapatayan. Ngayon, it's all out. We know that he kills and we love the fact that he kills. So there's a bloodthirsty mob that's behind Duterte and again, I call him rage, the embodiment of rage. That's what he is. He is the embodiment of the bloodthirsty mob that's part of our society. Now, yung isang napansin ko din na ginawa ni Duterte that that for me it was smart that he did it was to gain the sympathy of the PNP. He was trying to win the PNP and the military over by saying, I'm doing this for you. I sacrifice myself
Yun ang point ko,
for
diba?
you.
Ginagamit niya as a platform also. So very good observation. Not only his base, but also the armed forces secures.
Yeah.
Very good point, bro. Very good point.
Yeah, and did you notice he actually addressed the PNP chief right now? He said, it's yung current PNP chief, pakinggan mo yung sinasabi ko na kaya ako to ginawa. And alam ko mababait kayong lahat, ginagawa niyo trabaho niyo at dapat talaga ayoko may namamatay na PNP official, ayoko na kahit isang pulis na masaktan. Kaya ako to ginagawa. Kaya sinasabi ko sa inyo na pag nanlaban sila, patayin niyo. Kasi kaysa kayo yung mapatay, then he goes back to then he throws it at the senators and especially to Senator Riza na kasi ang problema, hindi mo alam kasi never ka nagpatakbo ng gobyerno. Hindi mo alam yung panganib sa buhay ng ating mga pulis. So he makes Risa sound like the bad person to the eyes of the police. Now, the police there are all watching, the mga witnesses. And yan, nagnanad na ng mga ulo yan because they're like, yep, he's on our side. Listen, here's the thing about the police. Maraming matitinong police dyan. As a matter of fact, I think the PNP nga now is actually really good. Okay, I actually got to meet a lot of the PNP officials last month when I had to go by the PNP station. Nagpicture taking kami, nagkwentuhan, and a lot of them agree that there was a problem during the time of Duterte.
Nagmanyanita kayo, bro. Nagmanyanita.
Manyanita. Alam mo, I had to get a document lang. And ayun, nagkwentuhan kami, nakilala na ako. And I was thinking, baka magalit to mga to sa akin because of what I'm saying. But I've never thought naman the police force in general was a problem. I think there are factions of the police. Even Duterte says it, that there are factions of the police that are the ninja cops. Tapos inamin nga niya, pinatay nga nila yung isang ninja cop eh. Alam mo yung, ito yun eh. Again, ito na naman yung punto natin eh. Na yes, merong mga may kaso. Yes, may mga may problema. Pero yun na nga, bottom line is if you want to follow the law, it is not selective. The law applies to all or applies to none. As much as I am telling you, Richard, there are times na I'm telling you na there's a part of me that does not feel so bad when a mayor that we know is a drug protector is killed. There's a part of me that's like, sabagay, at least it's an easy way out. May ganun ako. But if I use my logic and unbiased objective reasoning, kailangan the law applies to all or it applies to none. As much as I would prefer na maganda na wala na yan dito. Pero kung ganon, then we live in a world of chaos where strong men like Duterte, the authoritarian rule, where even Duterte said, I'm going to quote, he said, that is the problem with due process. He said that during the hearing. Now, ayaw na
This is
ayaw
a
na
lawyer,
due
by the
process.
way. This is a lawyer, by the way. So we have some lawyer vlogger friends who are so galit at Tulfos na nagmumura sa police, but they don't seem to be so galit at Duterte, who's openly questioning the value of constitutional order, rule of law, and due process. I just find that interesting.
Yeah,
Find it.
I mean, as much as I find interesting my friends that are in part of the different Christian groups, and then they're agreeing
Ay,
to
medyo Old
Duterte,
Testament yung mga yan. Mga Old Testament na.
Old Testament of
Oh,
ano.
they'll go like you. Alam mo yung mga, alam mo na,
And
verses
then
they're gonna go to it.
And then not only that, I'll add this pa, that Duterte plays on the fact that, yes, I am the devil. He'll say that. Ako na yung demonyo. Ako na yung pupuntang impyerno. Sama-sama nga tayo. Di ba sinasabi niya? So he always plays on the fact na, oo, magsasama tayong lahat sa impyerno dahil sa ginawa natin. You know, it's almost like, yun na nga, it's like a serial killer admitting to what his crime is because he knows that there's a certain amount of power when you know that me admitting it and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. I don't know if you know the psychology with killers. Mga killers, they actually go to the scene of the crime. When the police are there investigating, may yellow tape, there's always the big chance na nakatayo sila doon watching the scene of the crime, and it's almost like daring the police, I'm right here and you don't
Voyeurist.
know.
Nag-voyeurist. There's a narcissism in sadism, right? There's a narcissism
Yes.
in sadism. There's definitely psychopathic stuff going on there. But bro, let me add something. Ako, this is where actually I'm suddenly saying, oh nga, no, it cuts both ways. Kasi he actually used it well for platform. Kaya nga I said the point that he's using it to address his base. But after what you said about the police and military side, I'm actually wondering if he managed to score more points than expose himself. Now, obviously, in any self-respecting functioning democracy, he said enough to end up in jail tomorrow morning, right? And worse.
Yep.
But we're not in that situation, unfortunately. And then your president is conflict avoidant, not still. But anyway, so in that situation, actually, I'm suddenly worried na baka nga this will serve more as a platform for him, not only to rally his base, but also to remind the police that may blood pact tayo. You know, this is what demagogues do, diba? They make their subsidiaries do so many crazy things that they end up having no choice but to stick with them. Because like, I mean, it's kind of mafioso, right? It's like,
Yep.
There's no way back na eh. Diba? Like you have done. So if you want to go clean now, it's too late, my friends. So your only way to move on is just not to go back anymore, right? And unfortunately, the Philippines has a long history of that. Look at the martial law atrocities. There were
Yeah.
so many people involved, including judges and people in the legal profession. It's a lahat sila they have blood on their hands. Eh. So there was just eventually an agreement na wag na natin balikan kasi everyone has a skeleton in that closet, in that closet of martial law. So I think Duterte would want something similar to happen, which is lahat kayo damay-damay na to. So wag na natin balikan. Walang malinis
But,
sa atin. So
yeah, pero,
that's his strategy. That's his
but,
strategy.
yeah, but then again, remember, he said na nga, he would offer himself as the sacrificial lamb. He would
Charot na
say that.
yan. See,
Ganun
again,
lang.
proto-fascism is about the Führer as the leader, hero, blah, blah, ganon,
Yes.
ganon. And then the next thing you know, nilaglag niya si Bato, nilaglag niya. Like, it's part of the theatrics. It's very theatrical. You know, it's always about, I will die for my country, ganon. Tapos may konting ano lang, ay, ayoko na, yung mga ganon. Like,
Yeah.
this is also part of their theatrics. Buti pa si Trump, I mean, in a sense that he showed real courage under horrible assassination attempt, right? Duterte was never tested. So we really don't know if this guy is courageous. If we were to believe Trillanes, duwag na tao to. Actually, nagyayabang lang yan kasi duwag yan sa totoong buhay. So I don't know. I cannot vouch for his courage. Yeah.
Well, for me kasi, classic bullies are cowards. Bullies don't like people standing up to them. That's why they pick on the weak. That's why they pick on the ones na walang laban. Yan ang classic bully. Kasi pag may humarap sa kanila may laban, they cower. And you saw how he cowered under the pressure of Risa Hontiveros. Kasi pumalag si Risa, hindi lang pumalag, binara siya hanggang naparises tuloy at nasuspend yung hearing. Dahil
Yun nga eh.
nakita natin lahat. Nakita mo yun, di
Risa
ba?
is the only one who fought back
Nag,
really strong. Yeah.
nag-time out talaga si Duterte doon. Is it okay if I get a time out? Talagang di niya alam kung at saka halos nag-apologize siya kay Risa. Of course, that was a ploy to gain a little bit of leeway para kumalma si Risa and not be so harsh because parang, I gave you something, Risa. Balikan mo naman ako ng konting being nice, be nice naman to me. But Risa, thank God, doesn't fall for that and
Yeah, she
bumanat
doesn't
pa rin
fall
ang
for that.
bumanat.
Okay, bro, now let's go to the next word. Sorry if because you have so much good content, right? So what I'm trying is to get the most out of it, for the purpose of our audience. Now let's break down the two ladies, the only
Okay.
courageous person in the room.
Wow.
No offense, Leila de Lima and Riza Hontiveros.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that Duterte is just next to Leila de Lima and Chel Jokno, right? That just tells you how crazy dramatic this situation was, right? That was the first thing I saw about the hearing. Oh my God, they're on the same row table, whatever. Can you first analyze Leila de Lima and then we go back to Riza? How do you see their performance, their intervention, their demeanor, their predisposition or disposition?
Alam mo, I really felt bad for De Lima. She was put on the spot. She was attacked. Imbis na, remember, she's not the one who's under investigation.
She's the
This is not,
victim.
yeah, she's the victim. She's a victim resource person who's explaining what happened. Instead, Jinggoy attacked her. And then Jinggoy made a disclaimer. I'm not attacking De Lima. I'm going to be as hard on Duterte. And he never was. So I felt bad for De Lima because she was put on the spot on several occasions. The problem was, I think lang, I mean, I want to root for De Lima, but I feel bad lang that she was cornered on some questions and she couldn't answer properly.
Like what are these questions? Sorry, I don't know
Sure.
exactly what you're
So,
referring to.
tinanong kasi kay De Lima nung time na yon, kung bakit as a DOJ, first of all, Human Rights Commissioner, tapos as DOJ,
Nalikan
bakit
yung
hindi niya
IC.
nasampahan ng kaso? Well, anong nangyari? You have all these things, hindi mas and De Lima looked stunned. She looked unprepared. And if I could speak on her behalf, I would have spoken on her behalf. Naawa ako sa kanya noon and then sinabihan pa siya ni Jinggoy that you're telling me basically by your answers that you're basically incompetent. Palpak ka. Yun lang yun. At saka baka wala ka talagang kaso kaya hindi mo nakasuhan si Duterte dahil wala kang kaso. You were the DOJ. You had one of the most powerful positions in the land. Tapos hindi mo siya makasuhan? Ginanon siya talaga. And I felt so bad for
I have
Lima
an answer for that.
hammering.
You know what? I have an answer for that. You know what?
What's your answer?
She had to laglag Pinoy. The only way she can explain that, kailangan niya ilaglag si Pinoy.
In what sense? I'm not
Because
following your
Duterte was ally of Pinoy in 2013 elections.
Okay, so paano ilalaglag si Pinoy by what answer are
So
you saying?
essentially, I think the answer she could give is, I would have loved to push ahead with cases and all of that, but I didn't have enough support from the top. Because if you want to go against a big ally of the president, a big ally of the administration, you have to have clearance from the top. I don't think she was really in a position
Oh,
to do that.
that's what you think.
I, I mean, what else can explain it, right? I mean, she was put in the position of Commission on Human Rights, I think Arroyo time and etc. That's the call of the president. She became DOJ secretary. That's the call of the president. Also, Digong
Mm.
was a key ally in 2013. Look at the pictures in 2013 elections. Mar Rojas, Digong, Pinoy, all of them. Kaya nga yung
Wow.
Digong Dilaw, Duwag, yung mga ganyan. It
Right.
comes from that. No, I don't want to say more because I probably Ronald Llamas should have to answer this because he worked.
Right. You're right.
But
Oo nga pala, Ronald
my
Llamas
point
would know.
is, she was a DOJ, but for her to go after such big targets, she had to have clearance from the very top. Now, I'm not saying that the late president, with all due respect, I'm not saying that the late president was okay with what. I'm just saying probably he had other priorities na choose your battles. Kasi, aminin natin, pag president ka ng Pilipinas, ang dami mong kalaban. So siguro
Yep.
hindi ganun ka-priority si Digong. Dahil si Arroyo
That
yung
time.
priority. Dahil si Erap yung
Yep.
kalaban. Dahil si Jinggoy ganun. So now I'm trying to be fair also to dun sa yumaon natin na presidente. That doesn't mean I'm okay with what happened. Obviously, in an ideal situation, she should have got the full support of the president to go all the way. This is the same DOJ secretary that went after one of the most influential religious groups in the country. So much so that EDSA was shut
Yes.
down in 2015. I remember very well. So yeah, I'm just telling you how things work, brother. There's no way you can go after a kingpin like Digong if you don't have full support and clearance from the top. At the end of the day, the DOJ secretary serves at the pleasure of the president. It's the same reason why when I say, will BBM really give the clearance for the current DOJ to go after X, Y, and Z? At the end of the day, the call should come from the president, brother. And my feel is, kaya hindi talaga makasagot si De Lima eh. Kasi she would effectively say, I didn't have enough support from my president back then. And then, of course, that could open a can of worms. So, ang
Right.
hirap nun eh. So, yeah, I rather defend her for good reasons than to assume she really didn't know how to answer. I think she refused to go down that line because it would open up a can of worms. I don't know if you listened to Ronald Llamas. He said there was a reason why he disappeared for a while. I think he had an agreement not to talk at least
Yes.
buhay pa because again, no president is. I'm not saying this to say Aquino was this. No, actually, I think he was relatively among our better presidents, if not the best, some would say. But my limitation talaga each administration, and if I were to be a little bit harsher on that, there were things that should have been done that were not done, including disqualifying Digong from running for the president to begin with. Again, that was on that administration. So I think if you were to talk to De Lima in private, I'm not saying that's what she tells me, that you're gonna get a proper answer. But she cannot give it. But you're absolutely right. She should have been prepared for that question because that's the line of attack. Ako naman,
Yeah.
if I would have been Bardagulan to say, oh, you want to talk about baseless accusations and not doing something? What about me who served? She should have done that. She should have gone like, oh, what about me who was 6 years in jail? They had no case against me. What did you do? But I don't know. I don't think she was in that state of mind. Kaya nga I want the feisty De Lima to come back eh. Masyado
Yeah.
siya Mandela ngayon. Like, I want the young.
Actually,
Yeah. I don't know.
alam mo yung
I hope
you
hindi
say,
magalit yung mga kaibigan natin dyan. I'm just being very honest about my take. I think that's really what happened, brother.
no, with the Lima, alam mo bro, it's like this eh. Yung nangyari sa kanya kasi being incarcerated for 7 years, 6 years or 7 years, mga 7 years yun eh.
Almost 7 years, brother.
Man, that does a lot to your soul. That is soul crushing. That is, ang hirap bumangon doon. For her to even rise up, I admire her so much because ang hirap bumangon sa ganyang klaseng pinagdaanan mo where the law, okay, the law failed you. The law that you swore to protect is a very law that failed you. You play by the rules when the other party doesn't. That's the hard part. You're playing with a set of rules that the other party is not playing. That was the problem with De Lima. And because she was so broken because of that, that's why this is a different De Lima from the De Lima of the DOJ. if you watch a tape of her during time of DOJ, matapang yan. Ngayon, nawala siya ng pangil
Ako
ng
naman, bro.
konti.
Okay, again, let me push back again. I hope I'm not being biased because, the senator is a good friend of that. Ako, I'm just trying to be fair in a sense of from what I know. Ang understanding ko, bro, is for her to survive that crazy situation during Digong, she had to create new layers to her state of mind.
Mm,
But parang
right.
lasagna yan eh. Kahit nilagay mo ng new layers, andun pa rin yung core eh. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I think the core is still there. She just has to reach back and bring back again that side. I don't think mawawala completely yun eh. I think she's
Yeah.
the kind of person who has a strong core. She just has to climb back. But I think the reason nangyari, again, I really like, kaya nga gusto ko itong systematic breakdown eh. Rather than just ephemeral, generic, impressionistic analysis. I really appreciate your point on that. Ako feeling ko, she was not prepared for it because she thought this is a vindication, reflective, introspective hearing. She didn't know it's still the same war that the DDS type senators are still gonna prosecute and relitigate the case. So she went there without the gun. She thought
Yep.
this is a peace negotiation. She didn't realize she walked into the room and everyone still had their guns. So in
Yep.
that sense, you're right that she was caught off guard. But my point is, for her to take out the gun, she had to lag some people that I think she was not. So you're absolutely right. I'm just saying there's a fuller angle to this situation. It's not just
Right.
incompetent or lack of preparation. It's just that she came in with not with the right state of mind, probably, in a sense that she trusted in the Senate to grow up and do its job, and apparently in there.
Yeah.
So she didn't bring her guns to the fight, thinking this is a peace negotiation. But the second thing is, I think she didn't want to implicate anyone or laglag anyone in defense of herself. So it's quite an unfortunate turn of events. But lesson learned. I think Senator De Lima can learn the right lesson. Hopefully, listening to this podcast, and next time go there, guns blazing. I think people are, and I think that would be a perfect setup for her to run for. You want to see the feisty De Lima back in the
Yep.
Congress next year. I mean, I found it as because Senator De Lima posted the picture. We had a panel together, and she said something like the irrepressible Haydarian or something like that, and I took that as a big compliment, right? So let me return that favor to her. Ma'am, we want to see also the irrepressible, like talagang bardagulan version of you. Now, bro, let's talk about Risa Hontiveros naman.
Mm.
How do you think she started the intervention? How did it evolve? And then, ano yung arc niya?
Okay, so with Risa, alam mo, before even the Senate hearing happened, people were asking her, "Ma'am, are you ready for ano? Are you looking forward to this?" And she goes, "No, I'm not. I'm not looking forward to facing off with Duterte." I love her honesty. That seriously, this is stressful, this kind of situation. You're faced against a person, a psychopath, that is willing to kill. Okay? I mean, how do you face that? Your own safety is on the line. For her to walk in understanding that this is a stressful situation and I am still going to do it, that tells me how courageous she is. She didn't mask it and say, kayang-kaya ko to. She walked in there and I could sense that she was also nervous. She was trying to hold herself together. And plus, with all the cohorts of Duterte there beside her, cheering Duterte on, and yet she stood her ground. But she was very respectful of the chair, knowing that she's not the chair of the committee. I love the fact that she was respectful of the process. She was not overbearing. She allowed everyone to speak and have their turn. But unfortunately, not being a chair, there was a little she can do about Duterte's ramblings and rantings. I love the fact that she called out Duterte whenever Duterte would ramble on. And even when Duterte kind of tried to do the gaslighting trick that he always does and says to Risa, "Ma'am, you're rambling." No, 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 excuse me. You're the one rambling. Maganda yung ginagawa niya. And yun na nakikita mo talaga yung tapang ni Risa Hontiveros na nagustuhan ko at handa siya. Handa siya at nakikinig siya. At hindi lang yun. Hindi siya pumayag that Duterte will be allowed to say those statements and get away with it. She would say, put it on record that the former president said it. Put it on record that he said na pumatay siya. Put it on record na inaamin niya na nagbigay, he admitted to giving money and yet he retracted it. He admitted to killing and then he retracted. He admitted to a death squad. several times. He had even said there are 7 people in the death squad. He said, hindi ko kinuha sa police yung death squad. Kinuha ko yan outside of the police. Mga gangsters ang kinuha ko. Then she goes, let it be put on record that Duterte said that. Buti ginawa niya because no other senator did that. And that's what I admire about Risa Hontiveros is that when she's on you, she's got you. She's not gonna let go. I don't care how much you shake and then you whimper and whine and then kind of beg for a little bit of leniency. She's still not gonna let go. Unfortunately, nga, she was held back by the chair and the rest of the senators who were pushing back. So kinakalaban
Which
niya hindi
was
lang si
even,
Duterte.
right? That was that was a structural constraint, no? Ako, if I were to use, sorry, medyo UFC this weekend was really wild. I mean, if the Lima problem was that she went there thinking it's just boxing or wrestling, next thing you know, it's an MMA, right?
Right.
So she was caught off guard a little bit, but I'm sure she can fix it in the next fight, and she's gonna do very well because I have a lot of confidence in her fights this size. She just Risa naman went there with an injury, essentially being prevented from fully,
Right.
expressing
May
herself. But
handicap.
despite having that handicap, I think she punched enough, and she took the other side down. In like I'm saying, enough of jiu-jitsu there to score enough
Yep.
points. So I think kudos to Riza for making the most out of the structural limitations that she had in terms of exposing Duterte. Because I'm looking at the highlights pa lang. I think Duterte has just said enough. So tomorrow I'll have Justice Scarpi to break down the legal implications of this. Like, hello ICC, baka makinig kayo sa amin. And Quadcom, of course. Now, how do you think the closing part of this hearing was towards the end? If you're gonna look at the last 10-15 minutes or so, how do you think it ended? Like bitin, cliffhanger, sabog. I mean, what do you think? Or just enough? I think was out there to set the tone for the Quadcom and the real guys to come in.
Yeah. So here was the thing about how that Senate hearing ended. They kept apologizing to Duterte about the time and then saying, oh, and then Duterte would say, no, I want to stay here. Tapusin natin to. Hanggang bukas tayo dito. Kahit gabi, I'll stay until bukas. Pabalikin niyo ako. Talagang tapusin. And they would like, hindi na po. Late na rin po. Sige na po. Pwede na kayo umalis. And he didn't want to leave. That was the thing. So for me, that it's almost like he was saying, oh, ano pa, may papalag pa ba? Wala na. It's like yun na nga parang hamon to, I want to have the last say. Until talaga sinabi, sir, wala na po, alis na po kayo. And at this
I
point,
think he missed it too, bro. No, I think a part of it missed it because there are parts I'm watching him is like he's he's bringing back that Duterte, the president moment. And all. Let's be honest, BBM is not the most. You have a kind of I won't say absent president, but a kind of a diffident president out. So this was his way to reassert himself as a center of gravity, right? I mean, the way he would. Kasi nung pumasok siya, 'di ba, mukhang 'di ba, mga
yeah, frail.
ang joke, 'di ba? Ito ba yung nabugbog dun sa UFC? Yung mga ganun joke, but actually in fairness to Digong, as he talk, bumabalik yung gaganon siya. So I think a part of it probably missed power because power is like drugs. It's like fentanyl.
It's
Something he knows
it's
a
an
lot about.
aphrodisiac. Yeah,
The
alam mo,
aphrodisiac, I don't think he needs aphrodisiac.
yeah. Pero alam mo, like
Yeah.
kaya nga that's right. One thing that I did notice right now with what's happening is it ended with a whimper rather than a bang. Kasi nga at the end of the day, nasabi na ni Duterte lahat ng kailangan sabihin. And the thing was there was nothing else that they needed from him at this point because no matter what he says, there was no pushback from the senators. So ano pa ba ang kailangan nila? Lahat ng sinabi ni Risa na sa kanya, aminin mo, said to him, are you willing to take responsibility for this? And he goes, you cannot take personal responsibility, blah, blah, blah. I know, but I'm saying, you said you're willing to stand up and be responsible for all of this. Now I'm asking you if you can or not. Tapos hindi siya makapalag. So there's nothing else that he can say to add more information when we're talking about in aid of legislation. Wala na siyang mako-contribute. So if the senators are not going to push back, there's no point of him being there. I know that the Quadcom is watching this and listening. And I'm telling you, if Duterte has the balls to attend the Quadcom, I don't think he would because nakakatakot yung Quadcom. Kasi yung mga yan, if they're gonna perform the way they've performed in the past, they're not gonna let up on him. Especially after what they heard today. Especially after he reversed a lot of what the other testimonies and sworn statements that were given. So, Yun yung makikita natin pinagkaiba dito. Now, alam mo, Riza Hontiveros is such a hard position eh. In Senate kasi talagang wala siyang kakampi doon. Wala. Unlike in Congress, there's more people of a certain mindset that's willing to fight. The young guns, they're pretty impressive so far from what I've been seeing. Riza is all alone. That's tough, okay? The position she's in. So kudos to her for what she brings to the table and for being prepared. Now, I'm gonna add pala to what to Riza lang because I want to add this really key point here. The reason Riza did well is because she went in knowing that it's going to be bloody, knowing that it's going to be difficult. So in other words, preparado siya mentally. Mindset niya was it's gonna be this is gonna be very tough and I'm gonna take all of it. So pagdating mo sa laban, it's not as bad. Parang ganon. Versus the Lima who walked in, like you said, parang she thought, oh my God, I'm gonna tell my story. I'm gonna tell it to Duterte. No way. She was made to shut up. She was made to stop talking and they allow Duterte to speak and say all these things. So yun yung nakikita mo pinagkaiba talaga. And for me,
But
Riza really shined in this one.
but my point is that's what you can jujitsu, right? So the Lima line would be, oh, I thought this is a proper hearing. Yung pala, it's scripted. This was really a Duterte platform. So what you do right now, this is two ways forward. One is, again, it's like you're UFC and then you call these guys, oh, you're just WWE. You're just a bunch of fakes. That was it, not that. So if you're Quadcom, you troll the Senate. Oh, that's not real stuff. That's not a hearing. That's a Duterte show. You guys were just a bunch of clowns and fools. Come down here and we'll show you what is a real hearing, my friend.
Yes.
That's what Quadcom should do. They should troll the Senate and say,
Yep.
Digong, wala, mahina ka pala eh. Kaya mo lang kung nandun yung mga alalay mo. Dito ka sa amin. Pag-usapan natin to. Dapat hamunin nilang gano'n. Troll him. I think they should do
Yep.
that. They should do, and the Lima should go out and say, no, that was not a hearing. I was I was the one who was being harassed and all that. This is fake. This is not real. Bring it on. Dapat ganon. Dapat ganon. And then thanks to Reese's intervention, I think just enough came out, not only as a juice for Quadcom, but also for DOJ and ICC and all of that. So for me, the fact na it ended with a whimper, it's good because that's how you can come in and say it was fake. The whole thing is fake. Just like with drug war, it was fake, right? So this is not a podcast anymore. I'm giving advice already. Free advice. Free advice. Great people, amazing people. That's what you do. You troll this. Enough of this. Kaya bro, tingnan mo, my most social media post today is approaching now 200,000. Baka mag 1 million yan by tomorrow. It's not my videos of Digong. It's not all of these things I posted and I felt are more interesting. It's when I said, question, is this the worst Senate ever? So that's a very strong. Now, the whole thing was fake. The whole thing was fake. Now, that's not a legit hearing. So Digong, kung talaga matapang ka, come to a legit hearing. But thanks to that hearing, quote unquote, the same way that Polvoronic hearing with Jonathan Morales, I think there was still just enough juice out there, right? Just enough beef out there to make something there. So actually, again, maybe I'm just no, I don't think I'm being over optimistic. I think there's something to get out of this. I think there's just enough for Quadcom and all. So my advice to Quadcom is troll the Senate. And I know deep inside you think you're more deserving to be in Senate. And I cannot disagree. I think there are a lot of congressmen there I'd rather see in Senate. And there are a lot of senators there I'd rather, well, not see, period. Whatever. So that's how I read it. That's my advice actually to people who want to do the right thing.
Yeah. And I want to add, based on that sentiment, this is really actually good na nangyayari to ngayon because now nakikita mo what the problem with voting by popularity is. Senate is a vote for popularity. And therefore, you see that popularity does not equate to proper legislators. And then you see the main difference when somebody is voted based on their popularity versus somebody who's voted based on their constituents, the people that know them, the people that really understand this is my representative. And it's a smaller group it's easier to be able to let people see who you are and people to vote for you. Kaya mas magaling yung mga senador, ay mga kongresista kumpara sa ating mga senador. And that's just a fact. And this is the beauty of it. Maraming nakakakita how much of a joke it is when Jinggoy Estrada is making light of killing people. Kasi then he even says it. And after Risa called him out and said, this is not a laughing matter. And then he replies with, I'm just I'm trying to make the situation lighter. How do you make a discussion about mass murder lighter? You're not supposed to. It's disrespectful, it's improper, and it's just not the right
Is there a
decorum
video
when you
of
talk
those
about.
people laughing? Is there a video? I think those people are laughing. Shame on you. There should be a video of you, and that video should come out. I mean, I'm not very woke, but I'm woke when it comes to these things. Like, hindi naman cancel, but these people have to be called out. You're laughing at EJK. I mean, this is terrible. It
Yeah,
should be condemnable.
it's really pathetic, ano. And that's why nga, ito tanong na nga natin, ito na, dapat talaga lahat itag si Duterte dito at yung mga kasama niya dito na sige, tingnan natin kung matapang ka talaga humarap ka sa Quadcom. Because
Troll
I
na
know
kayo,
that the
mag-troll
Quadcom
na.
saw this.
Quadcom, mag-troll na kayo. I-troll nyo na. WWE kayo, hindi kayo real. Scripted yan. Come over, let's do a real UFC. Tatay. Di ba
But
matapang? Come over. But bro, I just have, in defense of the Senate as an institution, I have a two-level analysis of why we are in this mess, right?
okay.
One obviously is this trend line of quote unquote celebrities. Not actually the best. There are many good celebrities who are not running for office.
Right.
I'd rather have Angel Locsin, running for Senate than Robin Hood, to be honest. But you have this trend of celebrities getting, and it keeps on getting worse every cycle. You could say, especially once Bong Revilla topped the race in 2010. So ano yan? Palala in a sense that if you look at the share and the types of celebrities, I'm not against all. You can be a celebrity for doing great things, being a great mind,
Right.
lawyer, whatever.
Absolutely.
Vito Salonga was a celebrity as a legal, but Lenny is a celebrity in a way, and she stands for good governance. So it's the type of celebrities who are coming in and the frequency, right? So for me, that's one. But second, I think this is where this came out in our first RMC analysis. That was very good, which is historically, because a senator is supposed to be a national level figure, meaning presidentiable down the road, ang taas ng expectations sa'yo. But the rise of the Duterte created a new reality in our politics, which is you don't want to cross the Dutertes because you're going to lose the Vismin vote or Mindanao vote. I don't think that's the fact anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yes. So I think this is where suddenly it's weird that the supposedly parochial congressmen, because they're safe in their districts, unless you're, I don't know, in Davao or whatever, they feel they're not going to pay so much price if they cross Dutertes. While senators who are competing on a national level, you cannot lose 15-20% of the voter base. Again, my advice to a lot of senators, don't be too scared. I don't think Duterte has the same hold they used to have, but I understand if they have that fear. I'll give you an example. The biggest reason why BBM's numbers approvals went so low from 70 plus to 50 plus is because he's only 20% plus in Mindanao. So he had a huge hemorrhage in Mindanao. So I think a lot of senators are scared. And I'll tell you what, Senate race from number 7 onwards, number to 25, it's very close fight there. So it's not about losing Mindanao. It's losing few thousand, and you can lose the top 12 magic. So I think there's also a survival dynamic here, which is militating against Senate, playing its role. So again, I'm trying to be fair to the institution of Senate because I'm hearing a lot of people saying, i-abolish na yan, ganun na, like, napaka-short naman ang memory nyo. Not long ago, we had actually very decent senators. Not long ago, we used to look down at the lower house for being so parochial, while it was the Senate, which was the conscience of the nation, and essentially the gladiators, like the legal gladiator, the statesman, like kind of Roman Republic Senado. But I think this dynamics, I said, the celebritization of Philippine politics plus the Duterte Vismin fear factor that you might lose a huge chunk explains everything. The reason I realize that is also it's how I analyze the Republican Party. Trump is there not because he has the support of 90%, it's because he has a solid 25-30%. And everyone else is scared at him because he'll use that 30% to smash down everyone. That's how he beat everyone. So actually what we're seeing with demagogues from Trump to Duterte is this phenomenon whereby you have a supercharged plurality that you can use to create a majority. And not only majority, almost essentially universal support in certain base. So
Yeah.
this is the dynamic I see as a political. But just a side note, bro, maybe I don't know. One thing I found very interesting is a lot of people are solid pro-Lenny and they're even more solid pro-Trump. That's wild, bro. Like that's wild. I mean, I know what they say. Like, oh, because both are Catholic values, both are like blah blah blah. But um
Wow. I didn't expect that.
I'm not sure that really convinces me, to be honest, because Lenny stands for anything but right-wing strongman
Yeah.
leadership, right? And yet, look at it. I posted something about that. Tignan mo yung mga responses. Sana mag-research ka, mag-ganon ka. Me being me, like, yeah, I researched more than all of you combined. But and I said it's a rhetorical question. It's really what. Ang daming ganun, bro. And then there's another level of argument, parang US kasi sa ganitong situation yan needs a Trump, while Philippines, because it's like a situational argument, parang situational romance na but for me, hindi, it doesn't fly It doesn't fly. I mean, I'm critical of Kamala not reaching out enough to Catholic vote. I know that, a lot of wokeism is alienating a lot of conservatives, including Catholics. I know that, she didn't reach out enough. I mean, I can go on and on about it, but kaya sabi ko, parang ikaw, how do you understand pro-Lenny tapos pro-Trump? Like super pro-Trump. Like
I'm
super
actually surprised. I did not expect that. That's
There are
why
a lot of them, brother. I mean, look
puzzled.
at, I'll forward you my link. Ang dami na comment na trigger.
Sige
But
nga, I'd love to
ang
see
dami nila,
that
brother.
dynamic.
It's a sociological phenomenon. It's a puzzle. I mean, I know why, but whatever. It's like I don't want to answer kasi para akong delima, baka mapahamak ako pag sinagot ko ng gusto. One day I
Oh,
will be confident. After elections, I think Trump is gonna win. So after elections, I'll explain why. But for now, I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, Chris, there are like wild things out there that really interest me intellectually. Like super
grabe
pro
ah.
Trump, super pro Lenny. It's like, what? What?
Wow.
Like, wait, what? I'm telling you,
You
bro.
know,
Pag-usapan
you know,
natin
like,
next time siguro. Isipin mo.
yeah, pwede. No, I'd love to see that. Send that to me later. Ah. Sige. So, okay. So go ahead. So where were we? So you were saying,
No, we're towards the end now, but our point is moving forward, right? So I think ang
so,
ganda ng point natin na I think Quadcom should troll Senate and say that was fake WWE. Let's go real MMA if duwag ka digong aminin mo at least. And then
yep,
second, I think DOJ and ICC should gather whatever evidence they can. I think there was enough material out there if they really want to do their job. And three, I think the Lima especially should have learned I think she learned her lesson from there. Next time go there with the bazooka and
yep,
use that as your platform to run. And last point, fourth point, what most important for me is what happened to Riza is exactly why you need more Rizas in Senate. Riza is a
yep.
superwoman, but she's up against Injustice League. There's just so much that one
Wow.
senator can do. I'm just saying. So
Yep.
that's a lesson for folks. I see a lot of volunteerism in Naga, a lot of pink movement, again, mobilizing for good. But, as there's no but. And we also have to make sure we have the good leaders on top. Grassroots and then on top. So sana, this is an eye-opener for everyone. Not only about Duterte's alleged crimes, but also about what should be done moving forward. Kasi what I
Yep.
don't want is this cynicism, ay wala na, tapos ng laban. And then actually, I think there's enough there for us to move forward. I think that hearing was 2 out of 10 in terms of quality of back and forth, but I think it was 7 out of 10 in terms of giving enough for the next level, meaning Quadcom, DOJ, ICC, the Lima coming back with a different predisposition. So that's my provisional conclusion from. And yeah, free advice dun sa mga nakikinig sa atin. Marami nakikinig, by the way. Thank you, bro. That was fantastic. Let's do this more. Every time there's a major hearing, let's do it analytically, step by step. And because in fairness, brother, I think of all bloggers out there, the stuff I've seen from you is the most detailed and systematic in terms of breaking down the hearings. Kasi in comparison kami, more impressionistic yung ginagawa namin. Of course, believe na believe kami sa sarili namin analysis. But I think you have done very good due diligence, and I'm very thankful for you, brother, for this really part by part analysis na ginawa natin. Very good
Yeah,
job.
thanks so much.
Alam
Alam mo,
mo, yeah, please.
yeah, ano lang, on a final note, I just wanted to say that, I hope that a lot of people, like you said, this is a good eye opener, and I believe that this is going to help in terms of voting for the right senatorials. I actually believe, I know, Richard, I don't know if you agree with me, but this is one of the many past hearings that we've seen, part of the many past hearings where you understand now by voting for a person by just the popularity alone, you're not gonna get somebody who can get the job done. And ngayon ang dami pa tumatakbong mga artista na naman natatakbo na walang alam. And I think that they dilute each other, and now there's going to be others that are going to be more qualified, that are going to be running, that are going to win. I really see that happening. So yun, and tama ka doon with the Lima. The Lima should use this platform because she's running for party list. Bumanat na rin siya. And see the old Lima back. And she's got support there right now. So for BBM, ang masabi ko lang unleash the DOJ. Remulla will do it if BBM says so, but the problem is, will BBM say so? Now here's the thing: even if BBM doesn't say so, you've got the wife or the Romualdez says, who may have enough influence to be able to do it. There are a lot of powerful people around BBM that are making things move outside of it because he doesn't.
Smart people around him. Yeah, smart.
Yeah, a lot of smart people, and plus
Willing
there's a
to
lot of
listen to us.
Absolutely. And not only that, I remember that there's a lot of influence by the community, the business community around BBM that he listens to. And not only that, he does listen to the international community. So, because he needs the support of all the international community members, including the United States. So, he will do what's right. And now they have the ammunition. Let's see if they're going to pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
And that's
it. That's a great point, brother. I mean, I think it's incumbent upon Marcos to do something after this, because if they're gonna allow Duterte to get away with a clown show Senate hearing and essentially incriminate himself and yet get away with it, that doesn't reflect well on him or our country, for that matter. Because I said, in any real functioning democracy, yari si Duterte after everything he said. In fact, he wouldn't even dare to say what he said. So he's making a mockery once again of our country, of our democracy. Hopeless case na ibang senador dyan, no offense, but Marcos should do something. If he doesn't care for democracy and human rights, at least care about his own legacy and our national reputation, because that was crazy stuff. And the thing I'm posting, my audiences are from all around the world, right? Including US senators, like all sorts of people are seeing my stuff. So BBM, ingat ka, because I have a lot of influence on our national reputation, right? Whether I want it or not. Just saying, amazing guy, wonderful guy. So bro, we have an assignment. Next meeting, pag-usapan natin. Pro-Lenny, pero pro-Trump rin. Yung mga ganun. Sige.
Yeah.
I think bro, ginalingan mo masyado kasi grabe yung response. May demanda, make it weekly daw. Let's do it weekly, especially if there are hearings or something, bro. At least once a week.
I'm game.
Let's once a week. Yeah, let's do an RNC once a week. And if ever crazy hearings, we can do more than once a week. In addition to their collaborations, obviously, we'll talk about more elections as election comes in, and more than happy to accompany you. A day in the life of a counselor in the making. Kristan, Booyakasha. More power to you, brother. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I have no regrets reaching out to you. And by the way, tomorrow we'll have naman Justice Carpy to discuss the legal aspects. So we're going to do a lot of coverage of this. Digong, hindi pa tapos ang usapan. God bless, bro. Talk to you soon.